Hello everyone. Recently on the channel I released a video about Florence Price's second violin concerto, and it's generated some really interesting discussion. The story behind the piece is fascinating because it was discovered in an abandoned house, and I was telling that story and wanting to raise the whole topic of hidden composers who, for whatever historical reason, have been ignored or overlooked. But one of the really fascinating discussions was the topic of what music do we consider to be important, because we're living in an era when more obscure composers are tending to be elevated because of their gender or ethnicity. And that, of course, is positive in the sense that those composers have traditionally been overlooked for those reasons. But on the other hand, as I think Hegel once pointed out, culture has a weird tendency to lurch from one era to the other. And the problem we now face is that, for example, in the 20th century, there are a whole bunch of absolutely amazing composers like Charles Ives, Edgar Varèse, Bela Bartok, Janáček, Webern, absolutely core figures in the first half of the 20th century who, because their music is challenging and requires repeated listening in order to really get it, nevertheless, these composers are astonishing and responsible for some of the great masterpieces of the last 100 years. But there's a real danger that some of those guys are, as the years roll by, going to start to get overlooked, especially if more minor figures, more obscure figures, start to be elevated. And that is a really big problem of our time. Classical music is already a niche area and is itself starting to be colonized, certainly in terms of popular concerts, in favor of film music. And I love film music and I have a real interest in it, but there's a problem if every popular classical concert is essentially just a bunch of John Williams or whatever. And even composers like Tchaikovsky start to be marginalized. So we've got a real problem here, and I'd value some interesting comments on it, because I'm not so interested in the polarizing debate around identity politics, so let's not get into that. But the whole topic of how classical music is curated is massively important. Let me know your thoughts.